Hello, hello. Almost Shabbat Shalom. Swelching and hot here in La La Land. But the ocean is always there, and the color blue is always there to bring calmness, bring into collectedness. So, yes. So you'll see a drop here and a drop there going, but you'll understand. So we are this weekend is Parashat Shoftim, and really which means judges, and the the whole idea here, as I see that as I feel that, is really about communication, and so the parasha, the portion of this week, Shoftim, which happens before Rosh Hashanah, for the head of the year. Shoftim it starts with the words when God is saying what you will do for, about controlling and about having the state and people as Israel. You'll put judges and police officers in all your gates. Now, in the older days, there would be, like in Jerusalem, when you enter in like Jaffa Gate, there's Jaffa Gate, there is a little room there. It used to be bigger, as it's written, that these rooms were used to be bigger. And in the entrance to every city, there would be a big room. There would see judges and people who had issues, primarily financial issues, let me move here so see a little blue. There you go. They'll have some financial issues. They would go to the judges, and they will go to the room, and they will ask for advice and so forth. And so he said, and if you notice, there are judges and there are police officers. There are no attorneys, right? There are no attorneys, really. And the idea is that it's not really idea. It's really teaching us to life, and there is a big lesson here. Um, there is judges, and there is those who execute what the judgment is or was. And judges versus attorneys. Attorney represents one side. Attorney doesn't really care about the truth. Attorney cares about protecting his or her client from whatever is going on, if the client is guilty or not. The job of the attorney is to do what is good for the client, and many times it doesn't have to do anything with the truth. Versus judges are neutral. Judges ought to be neutral, to take each case and to look at it and to look just based on the truth, what it is. At those days was the Torah, is like, and still there are in the religious sections in Israel, the Din Torah, and so they go by what it is said. But the judge is supposed to be neutral, not to be bribed, not to be. There is a story in the Talmud about a rabbi who was a known judge, and he was on his way entering the hallway, where the hall is, where they sit to listen to the client, to the people, and to give judgments. And he felt that somebody is touching him. And when he looked, he saw a guy that kind of cleaned his jacket. There was something on. So he said, "Oh, well, thank you very much. And who are you, sir?" So the guy that cleaned his jacket says, "Oh, I'm waiting in line. I'm here to be judged before Your Honor, to say." And the rabbi looked at him and says, "I am excused from judging you. I cannot be judging you." Not because it was a bribe necessarily, but the rabbi didn't feel comfortable, didn't trust himself that he will not favor the guy because he cleaned his jacket. So he said, "I'm excusing myself from dealing with your matter." And so at the old days, he says, put your judges and officers, and the officers will execute what the judge says. So if we take it into into relationships, are you a judge or are you an attorney? Are you looking at something in an objective way, or are you looking at something with an agenda hidden behind, or something that you want to gain from that interaction? So back to this. That's on the story level. That put judges and officers. But the sentence continues, put judges and officers lecha, for you. It doesn't talk about plural. It doesn't say, hey, you people put judges and officers to execute the judgments, right? Or whatever the ruling was. It says, put judges and officers for you on all your gates. And this is the deeper meaning, the deeper level of our gates. We have 7 gates. Number seven is really fascinating. So 7 means by nature. In Kabbalah. 6, 7, and 8 have the importance of meaning, and 7 is by nature, the synergy. So you have 7 gates. We have the 2 eyes, the 2 nostrils, we have the 2 ears, and we have a mouth. So those are the 7 gates where we receive information, sound. Everything is information, even feelings, even what we put into our mouth, even what we don't, especially what we say, how we say, what we talk, what we say, what our intentions behind our words are. Right? These are gates. Eyes. Many think that eyes are only to see, but eyes admit. How many times did you feel somebody is looking at you in a certain way or intensely, and you say, oh, don't look at me in a certain way or something like that? Why? Because you feel some intensity that there is in that look. The nature of the intensity is not as important, but the intensity, the fact that it exists there, right? So the eyes omit energy. Jealousy comes from the eyes. Jealousy comes from, or narrow-minded really, comes from the perception, from how we see things. So if somebody sees something and they like it because they're either lacking it or they don't have it, usually because they're lacking it, somebody's jealous. But then the energy that comes out of the eye affects the person who is being watched. It's like the watch effect, right? The being watched effect. This is why also the ayin hara, the evil eye, is considered in Judaism and in spirituality, really, the energy that somebody omits with a negative intention behind it. With let's put it this way, with an unpure intention rather than a negative. Unpure intention. Because the person who is doing something believes what they're saying, so they don't see it as negative, right? We may see something as negative from our perception, but the person who is doing something believes really what they're doing and believes in their righteousness, and therefore they don't feel that they're doing something negative. So let's put an unpure intention meaning that there is maybe an agenda behind it or something behind it. So these gates, what we hear and what we say and what we eat also, and what we see, if you go to sleep and you are watching a horror movie at 12 o'clock at night, most likely you're going to have some kind of of insertion points from that movie into your first part of your night, right? So these are the gates. Put judges and officers on our gates. Is what I'm saying coming from a pure intention. Is what I'm doing coming from a pure intention. Is there something there that bothers me and therefore I did, or I'm saying, or I'm those kind of things? Do I see things how they are or as I want to see? This is something that we are in this reality. We are in this multi-layered existence. So we can see things in different ways. We come from different realities, different backgrounds. How do we see things? How do we perceive things? And so while we may say something is negative, it may be negative by nature, for example, not being kind to somebody. The fact that the other person feels that it is okay, that's a different question. That's a different issue. That person feels it's okay. Right? It doesn't mean that it's okay. It just feels that that person sees that this is okay. So then the question is, can you be a judge? When we converse, do you talk to me or with me as an attorney or as a judge? Right? So this is really, and now before Rosh Hashanah, when we're coming to Rosh Hashanah, the head of the year, and we will talk about this, I'll talk about this more as we get closer. But Rosh Hashanah is the head of the year. In the Jewish calendar, there are two, actually, Rosh Hashanah. There is one that's coming up in September, and there is one in April. And in April, where Passover is the new year, for the monthly, for the years themselves, for the months. Each month is representing one thing, and the second one, and so forth. This one is the head of the year for us, for creation, for humans, for people, for our souls. Where are we? Are we true to where we're true to? Where are we true to? What is our true intention? What is our pure truth? Are we there? How are we with the others? And the others is ben adam lechavro, between a person to the next person. And as it says in Yom Kippur, the misdoings towards the place, meanings to God, or if all kind of things, those are things that are repentable, and Father is always here. The universe is always here for us, to help us. It's not about punishing. But when we are between another person, us to another person, Yom Kippur doesn't kind of takes the atonement, doesn't take one for the team, let's put it this way, right? Why? Because we have to resolve it between us, between people. People are to resolve their differences between one another. And that is the head of the year. How is your year, or how is the next month, or how is your next phase of your choice going to look like? And so that is Rosh Hashanah. So before we come to that place, to that energetic field, and that it is magnifying and magnifying, let's ask ourselves, are we judges or are we attorneys? Are we looking at something at all our gates? How are we with the other? Always. This is something that is really kind of an always, but there are some times that are a little bit heightened than the others. So how are you? What is your language? Is your language, or so as you can see, I'm a little dripping here in the La La Land sand, but I'm grateful. And thank you for being here. And I have to put my other pair of eyes, be able to see this. Yes, absolutely. That's looking into ourselves. Yeah, Gina. Yeah, introspection. It's looking into our being. How are we looking? How are we with the others? How are we first with ourselves and then with the others? Because that will reflect on how I am with the others, right? Exactly. So, Shabbat Shalom. Enjoy any kind of weather you are. I've lived in Boston for years, so I know 10-foot snow. And this is the time now. So, Shabbat Shalom. Enjoy. And, oh, I got to put my finger. Yeah, that's fine. What? Ah, yes. Love, loyalty, and play. There you go. Shabbat Shalom.